thank you for being here. Um, this is my first time in Sao Paulo, and I actually really like it. And I just happened to stay in the hotel. So I'm from Holland, right? Just happened to stay in the hotel that had the Dutch team. So I just wanted to remind you a little bit about the great World Cup that we had here as part of my introduction. So who am I, right? So you can see on the right-hand side a way more famous person, which is Massimo Banzi, who's the CEO of Arduino. I'm the head of marketing for Atmel, so I joined Atmel like 2 years ago. And what we have been doing, which is what I'm going to show you, is talk to you a little bit about the partnership with Arduino and how Atmel is at the heart of the maker community. Maybe just a few words about Atmel. Who knows Atmel? There we are. That's a good thing. I've already seen a lot of AVRs and Arduinos and all the slides, so that's good. So we were founded in '84, so it's our 30th anniversary this year. So you can congratulate us later in the year on our anniversary. Revenue is $1.5 billion. And there's a lot of microcontrollers, obviously, which I'll talk about. 5,000 employees, and we're based out of San Jose. And what do we do? And again, we have seen all of these AVRs, but we are also getting a significant footprint in 32-bit MCU, which we call our smart, Atmel Smart line of ARM-based microcontrollers. And we actually went through a whole rebranding exercise recently with the market. So we have a hugely broad portfolio of microcontrollers. And the footprint that we have associated with the brand awareness in the market is actually huge, right? So if we went out and asked people and go, which semiconductor or microcontroller provider has a big footprint and are you familiar with, that's actually Atmel. Even more importantly is the fact that we are at the heart of the Arduino, right? So Arduino Uno, everybody familiar with Arduino? That's us, right? The AVR that's right at the center of the Arduino is Atmel's. And as a consequence, obviously, we love Arduino just as much as you do, which is very important. The relationship means a lot to us. And here's the board, and I think you can tell, right, the AVR is right in the middle, and we're very proud of that. So it basically puts us at the heart of the maker movement, and it gets even better. We launched the Zero. Have you heard about the Zero, the Arduino Zero? There's a 32-bit Atmel ARM-based microcontroller right on there. And I brought 2 of those boards, so who wants to have an Arduino Zero? You have to do something for it. So if you go on Twitter and you go find me, so my Twitter handle is on there, and you tweet me, I'll go and give it away later on at our booth. So I have 2, so if you're quick, I'll give you an Arduino Zero. Don't tell anybody over there because people wanted an Arduino Zero. And I have 2 and I'll give them to the person that tweets me first. Then that particular Arduino is at the heart of 3D printing, right? So MakerBot, everybody familiar with MakerBot, 90%, which is a significant percentage of all 3D printers, have an AVR or an Atmel chip inside, which actually helps you have a 3D printer in your hackerspace right here, and it's going to help manufacturing, right? So it's going to be at the forefront or as one of the key ingredients of this particular revolution that is happening with makers also here. And that's very exciting, and Atmel is right at the heart of all of that. And it's not only hobbyists, right? So I think there's a lot of people playing and people make fish feeders and stuff like that on an Arduino, but there's actually significant companies coming out of all of this, right? So I think you know PebbleWatch started on Atmel, but also MakerBot started on Atmel, and in the meantime MakerBot has migrated up a little bit, but there's still a lot of AVRs in the MakerBot 3D printers. And there's a lot of this, right? So when we were at the White House a few months ago, there's the pancake bot. I don't know whether you've seen that one. It prints 3D pancakes. I don't know who wants 3D pancakes, but if you do, you can get a pancake bot. There's a lot of stuff that is being built on AVRs and Arduino. MakerBot, and there's of course fun examples like wearables, but there's also very significant examples that change people's lives, right? So Atmel and AVRs and Arduinos and all the makers actually enable people to go and, in this particular case, 3D print an arm, right, which is extremely significant for these people who have lost one, to be able to have a better life, right? So in that sense, we're enabling unlimited possibilities as well. Who has heard about Super Awesome Sylvia? So yeah, Andreas did. Super Awesome Sylvia is a 14-year-old girl based out of the Bay Area who uses AVRs and Arduinos and founded her own company. So if you Google her, you can actually go find the examples that she made. And she's actually selling stuff online. And I think it just goes to show that the threshold for entry, and that's also what we see here in Brazil, is low, right? So there's a lot of people that are able now to go and enter hobbyists, but also make their own company. You can make the next 3D printer company, right? Or a wearable company. You familiar with Kickstarter? I think you are, right? So the route into revenue or the route into the market, actually there's quite a few, right? So you have Indiegogo, but also Kickstarter. And what I did last week is I put a search into Kickstarter and I put in Arduino. There is 217 projects at this particular moment that are based and built on an Arduino and an AVR, which is very significant, obviously. And I had the pleasure of meeting the CEO of Kickstarter a while ago. And he told me the following, and I think this is very telling of what it is that we are looking at from a movement point of view and the revolution, which we talked about a minute ago, that is happening, right? 160 Kickstarter projects on Kickstarter, 103 of them successfully funded, which hopefully is giving a lot of inspiration to a lot of people because they actually get funded. For us, it's 103 companies that were founded on an Atmel. For 103 companies, it's people that actually have a company and go and can become a millionaire, right? Then I think we talked a little bit about your hackerspace. So there's a hackerspace right here. In the meantime, there's over 1,000 maker spaces across the globe. So if you look a little bit into that footprint, it's pretty amazing. And it's people that just come, right, voluntarily or become a member and go and create certain things out of there. And that's basically where companies start to arise. And Atmel is at the heart of those. Then there's a few Brazilian ones. So I actually had the pleasure of getting a few links to to websites yesterday. And it's funny because also here, right, Arduino, and I didn't even search. So this basically popped up right here. And I had this other one, Fazedores. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Yeah, my Portuguese isn't that good, but yeah, it's the same thing, right? Arduino right there at the center, which is pretty amazing. Then for the engineers amongst you who have maybe technical questions associated what is possible, right? Every single thing associated, especially with wearables, needs to have a low power capacity and capability. So Atmel obviously has Pico Power in their AVRs, right? I think Pico Power is even a brand in itself. Then there is a wide variety of architecture into the system. And what I'm trying to show you is that whatever you need and whatever your needs are in your design, you can actually go and find an AVR in the product family and go and design, right? On top of having Arduino at your fingertips. What else is there for you to be able to get started? There's Atmel Spaces. I don't know whether people are familiar with it. It's a very simple URL that I put at the bottom. I'll go and circulate these slides a little bit later on. It hosts open source projects. So if you have a project, you can post it, but you can also go and connect to people online and make sure that you are getting the right input that you need. And of course, you can go tap into the Arduino network as well and the community. But Atmel has its own Atmel Spaces. And Atmel has a dedicated YouTube channel, and there is an increasing amount of videos that we are making on how to get connected, how to connect your Arduino to Studio 6, and how you can migrate up to a 32-bit if you have the desire to do so after the Arduino Zero is going to go hit the market. So I encourage you to go and have a look there as well. Then there's the AVR Hero Contest. I don't know whether you've seen it. So AVR Hero Contest is an AdMel marketing campaign where we were trying to get a lot of people to submit their individual projects, which is what happened, right? So this particular video got 4,500 likes or 4,500 votes of people in the market. So if you want to go and submit your design, or if you want to go and submit your particular project, AdMel is enabling you to do so, right? So you can go and submit that particular project, and it creates heroes, right? So this is the winner of phase 1 of our AVR contest, and I had the pleasure of handing him his prize at Embedded World in Nuremberg earlier this year, and he was the winner of that particular project, which is an Arduino-based mobile phone with 40 individual functionalities. So if you want to go check it out, you can go check it out. And we made him very happy with money, and we made sure that he got a lot of AdMel swag, in the sense of there's a lot of starter kits and hardware that we were able to give him. Where else can you go and find information or tap into people or tap into the community? I talked to you a little bit about AdMel Spaces, but there's the obviously the Arduino network, right? There's way over 1 million people communicating with one another in that particular community. AVR Freaks, how many people are familiar with AVR Freaks? Yeah, that's good. There's ongoing conversations on AVR Freaks, and it's sort of self-help within the community. And then, of course, we have AdMel Gallery and Studio 6, the development platform, which is free, right? There's people that ask money. You can just go download it and plug in your board and get going. So these are the tools and the infrastructure that is available to you to use. And again, I'll go and post these slides on SlideShare and LinkedIn, and I'll give it to the organization so that we can go circulate these. In the meantime, do take pictures. That's perfectly okay. How is the Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, the whole social media activity? So who's here? Who's tweeted me in this audience to get an Arduino Zero? You did? Yeah, I saw you go ahead. So are you following AdMel on the social channels? So we're very active. We have the 3rd largest social media footprint of all semiconductor companies, and we built it in like 13 months. Yeah? So we're going crazy on our social channels, which is an additional reach into the audience. So I encourage people to participate in the conversation. There's a lot going on there. And we have a lot of examples from people that build something on an Arduino to also people that want to connect to other makers. And I'm more than happy to help people there and connect you to the Chinese maker spaces, etc., etc. So there's a lot of activity on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and all of that. So yeah, that would be good to do. Then a little bit of boasting. I hardly ever talk about myself and how great we are, but I couldn't resist putting this particular slide in, especially since Microchip is here. Yeah. So people go, hey, who's getting the maker movement? Yeah? And there's conversations online on Twitter. And there's people that actually claim that we were first to really understand the maker movement. I couldn't agree more, to tell you the truth. At the same time, there's compliments in the market around our social media. So I just check it out. If you didn't believe me, believe these people, okay? Have you heard about the fact that the White House did a maker day? So they had a maker fair at the White House. So one morning my phone rings, and it was the White House, and you hardly ever get a phone call from the White House, right? Especially not if you're from Holland and you live in America. I mean, who would have thought? So the White House actually invited us to come to the White House with our maker kits. So we brought super awesome Sylvia, the girl that I showed in a slide. And we went on this amazing journey also on social media with AVR Man. So we made sure that our AVR Man made it all the way to the White House. So we had AVR men go to Washington, D.C. to go and meet with the president in the White House. I mean, there's a few other semiconductor companies around here, but I don't think any of their superheroes actually physically met the president, but we did. But I think it goes to show, because it's funny, but it goes to show that this is a hugely significant thing that's happening, right? Even the White House in America is dedicating a day to the maker community, which is very significant, right? A lot of 3D printing, a lot of children, a lot of companies, Kickstarter, and that whole particular ecosystem got invited to the White House. And we just had a little bit of fun with it. You can go online and see the whole journey of AVR Man to the White House. Then I think if we sort of pause for a little bit and we think about Internet of Things, I think everybody is now completely aware of the fact that there is this thing called Internet of Things. And there's a lot of people that make a lot of claims around the fact that there's going to be billions and billions of devices connected to the internet, right? That's one thing, and it's important, and it's going to be great for the semiconductor industry. But I'd like you to read the bottom quote. Yeah? It says that 50% of the companies that are going to make the industry that is called Internet of Things are companies that do not exist today. Those people are makers, if you ask me, right? It's people in their garages, it's people in companies, it's people making something with their children, it's people like yourself here in the maker space that have activities, connect boards, start to communicate in the community, and that's why we're very proud to be right at the heart of that particular movement. So I didn't want to make too much up of your time. So I think in closing, I hope that you got across the fact that we are very broad-based microcontroller player. So even if in the 8-bit space as much as in the 32-bit area, it's very easy to use. Yeah, that's as a consequence you see AVRs in all of the presentations that I've seen today. There's AVRs. We have a very strong brand, and I'm trying to add to that a little bit today. It's at the heart of the Arduino, which is probably maybe even more important than anything else, and it's as a consequence in many people's hands, right? So a lot of people are using our AVRs. Then it's one thing to have hardware, and hardware is very important, and it's on the Arduino, etc., etc. But there is a whole ecosystem of resources, Atmel owned, but also community owned, that you can tap into and get started. We have a very large social footprint, so if you want to go connect to people also within Atmel, please go and follow us online in the social channels. And it also means that we are, especially related to this particular quote, at the heart of the Internet of Things, right? So the Internet of Things is going to happen, and we'll be right at the heart of it. So I think in closing, for all the makers amongst you, we are the maker enablers, being at the heart of the Arduino, but the power is with you. There's going to be amazing things coming out of garages, out of maker and hacker spaces here in Brazil, connected, anything and everything, which is going to be very significant for the future, right? We have a booth here. I think you already saw that. We're also giving away kits and starter kits, and I'll go and do the 2 Arduino Zero boards to the people that have tweeted me. And I want to thank you very much for your attention. If you want to continue to follow us, follow the company. You don't necessarily have to follow me. I'm way less interesting than the company. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook, etc., etc. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Nobody has this.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care. Yeah, you should do this. Yeah, I'll shake your hand. Congratulations.
Thanks.